World War II, the deadliest conflict in human history, began in 1939 and ended in 1945. It was a war that spanned continents, involving more than 100 million people from over 30 countries. The rise of Nazi Germany under Adolf Hitler was a period marked by intense nationalism, militarism, and a fervent belief in the superiority of the Aryan race. Hitler's charismatic oratory and propaganda captivated the German populace, leading to widespread support for the Nazi Party. In 1939, the invasion of Poland by German forces marked the beginning of a devastating conflict. The blitzkrieg tactics employed by the Nazis overwhelmed Polish defenses, leading to the rapid fall of Warsaw and the occupation of Poland. This aggressive expansionism quickly spread across Europe as Nazi Germany sought to dominate the continent. The war brought unprecedented destruction to cities and towns, with countless lives lost and entire communities displaced. The Axis powers, comprising Germany, Italy, and Japan, formed a formidable alliance. Their military parades showcased their strength and unity as they sought to impose their will on the world. Opposing them were the Allies, led by the United States, the United Kingdom, and the Soviet Union. These nations united in a common cause to resist the Axis aggression, forging a coalition that would ultimately turn the tide of the war. World War II was fought on all fronts: land, sea, and air. The scale of the conflict was unprecedented, involving millions of soldiers, sailors, and airmen from dozens of countries. The land battles were brutal and relentless, with soldiers facing harsh conditions and fierce enemy resistance. Naval battles saw massive fleets clashing in epic confrontations, while aerial dogfights filled the skies with the roar of engines and the rattle of machine guns. From the deserts of North Africa to the jungles of the Pacific, the war spanned diverse and challenging terrains. In North Africa, the harsh desert environment tested the limits of human endurance, with troops battling not only the enemy, but also the extreme heat and scarce resources. Meanwhile, in the Pacific, dense jungles and tropical diseases added to the perils faced by soldiers, making every step forward a struggle for survival. Every corner of the globe was affected. The war's impact was felt far beyond the battlefields, as entire nations mobilized their economies and populations for the war effort. Civilians endured rationing, air raids, and the constant fear of invasion. The global scale of the conflict brought about significant social and political changes, reshaping the world in ways that are still felt today. D-Day in 1944 marked a turning point. The meticulously planned invasion involved thousands of ships, aircraft, and troops, all working in unison to breach the heavily fortified German defenses. The bravery and determination of the Allied forces on that day became a symbol of hope and resistance against tyranny. As Allied forces landed on the beaches of Normandy, pushing back Nazi Germany, they began the arduous task of liberating occupied Europe. The success of the Normandy landings paved the way for further advances into enemy territory, ultimately leading to the downfall of the Nazi regime and the end of the war in Europe. The sacrifices made during these battles are remembered as a testament to the resilience and courage of those who fought for freedom. This war also saw the darkest side of humanity. The Holocaust, orchestrated by the Nazis, led to the systematic extermination of 6 million Jews and millions of others. It remains one of the greatest tragedies in human history. World War II ended with the use of nuclear weapons in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, signaling a new and terrifying era in warfare. The devastation was unimaginable, but it ultimately brought the war to a close, changing history forever. In 1945, the war was over, bringing an end to years of global conflict and devastation. The world rejoiced as soldiers returned home, and victory celebrations erupted in cities across the globe. Families were reunited, and there was a collective sigh of relief. But the end of the war marked the beginning of a new era. The impact of the war would shape the world for decades to come. nations faced the daunting task of rebuilding their cities, economies, and lives. World leaders gathered to discuss the future, aiming to create a more stable and peaceful world. In this spirit of hope and cooperation, the United Nations was formed in 1945. Its mission was to prevent future wars and foster international collaboration. The first meeting of the United Nations saw world leaders signing the UN Charter, a historic moment that symbolized a commitment to peace and unity. However, the post-war period also saw the beginning of the Cold War, a tense and prolonged standoff between the United States and the Soviet Union. This ideological conflict divided the world into two opposing camps, leading to the construction of the Berlin Wall and the formation of military alliances like NATO and the Warsaw Pact. The shadow of the Cold War loomed large over the latter half of the 20th century, influencing global politics and shaping the modern world. World War II changed the course of history, shaping the modern world we live in today. As we look back, we remember the lessons of the past and the importance of peace and cooperation in the future.